Welcome to the Mindfulness broadcast, everyone. I am out here in rain and it's on purpose. I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment. We're all here. And the reason I'm standing in the rain today, which is to remind us that in a world right now, in a world that is always, but certainly in a world right now that might be activating some what if scenarios. That is definitely a theme I have heard a lot. What if, when we're in the what if scenario, what if the funding get cuts? What if I lose my job? What if the, what if? And that activates that anxiety part of our brain. We start to spin out because of our evolutionarily designed brains to keep us alive into a whole bunch of scenarios that our brain can really start to guide us into. And we can have a physical response to this made up scenario that we don't know is true, right? We are picking out the evidence for it and we are there and our heart is beating and we might get sweaty and our stomach gets upset. We might be not fully able to like grab the words that we want to grab because we're over here physically and mentally. We are over here in this made up scenario and having a full-fledged response to that. Maybe I'm not alone in that. Maybe that is for you as well. So when you find yourself in that, know that you are not in the present moment. A, you are not alone. And B, you are not in the present moment. And nature gives us 1,000 opportunities to come back into the present moment. So there are tricks and tools and apps and journals and all sorts of things, but also accessible to us all of the time are things that we can tap into to get back into the present moment. So we don't have to overcomplicate things. And one of the ways that spring offers us is rain. Go out and get wet. You don't have to get soaked. Maybe you're between meetings, but go out and let the rain hit your face. Get uncomfortable. Let your fingers get cold and your rings spin around your fingers because they're shrinking because you're cold. Let that occur. It takes a couple of moments, really. I don't, depends on the weather, but just that allows you, that little bit of discomfort allows you to come back into the present moment. Then I begin to notice my breath. I can see my breath when I stop hanging out in the what if land and I drop back into the present moment. I can then go, oh, what does this feel like in my fingers, right? I feel a little bit of tingling and start to describe that to myself. What about the wetness on my face? Am I really seeing those? Is there a pattern to those? Can I feel those on my forehead and on my cheeks and on my lips? And what if I played like a kid played and just stuck my tongue out and let a few fall on my tongue? And it activates curiosity. I think about, oh, what's the story of this water? Maybe this rolled down the nose of a dinosaur, or it was collected by my ancestors in a bucket from a river, hundreds of years ago. What's the story with this? And I am right now present in my experience. I can leave that and go back into life, and I can then have a little perspective on this anxiety. Because what being present does is allows a little break in the hamster wheel of rumination between anxiety and fear brain. It just pauses that for a moment. And when my brain wants to go back to that hamster wheel, I have a little bit more perspective. I can say things to myself like, what else might be true? Yes, this scenario could happen. And what else might happen? We don't know. So we can make up a whole lot of different scenarios. What good might come of this? What does self-care look like as I'm in this space, right? I create that pause between what might be and what actually is. So the rain is a wonderful way. The cold is a wonderful way. I just heard a Canadian goose fly over me. dropping into the songbirds and the geese and the traveling friends around us, my heartbeat, my breath. All of those things are ways that I can drop into the present moment right now. So, with that, let's get into our practice. You can close your eyes or you can take a soft gaze and just find the power of this breath this morning, this beautiful, mindful gift. Feeling it. Mine is cold and a little wet, and I can feel it travel its way up my nostrils. And then it warms up as it hits my throat, and it's hot as it exits my lips. Find your breath this morning. Allow it to move throughout your body and also to move your brain from the what ifs to the right now. And as you feel that breath, feel how it moves your body. Be curious. As I inhale, what shifts in my body? For me, I notice my chest lifts and my shoulders come back a little bit. You notice there's an engagement in my belly. And as you exhale, what happens to your body? What do you notice? I notice my shoulders drop a little. I notice there's energy down towards my feet, like a grounding. Repeat this for yourself a bit, playing with the strength and the length of your breath. And we're going to play with a few other techniques in our practice this morning that bring us right now into the moment. So one that we've done a few times is to put a hand to the heart and the hand to the belly and feel that breath move in and out. Feel the chest rise and the belly rise and then the belly fall and the chest fall. And you can add your breath to that to fully bring you into this process. You might say chest, belly, belly, chest. You do that a few times on your own. Another practice, you can put your hands together and rub them. And then pause and feel the sensations. Doing that a couple times, hearing the sound of your hands, feeling the warmth, feeling the crevices of your fingers smooth out, and then pause. Another practice, and you can do this with your fingers or your toes. Wiggle your pinky, wiggle your ring finger, wiggle the middle, and the pointer, and the thumb, pinky, ring, middle, pointer, thumb. Let's take a break for a moment and just find our breath. So many ways to be present. And the more that we can take these little tools and use them throughout the day, the more resilient brain we are building, the more that we are able to notice when we've traveled to what if land, and that we are taxing our body physically and emotionally and mentally the longer we stay in that what if land. Resiliency allows us to catch that and bring ourselves back to the present moment, to dive into that curiosity, just with these little tools, noticing our breath, letting the rain fall on our face, moving and bringing our attention to our fingers and our toes. So the last part of this before we close that I want to bring your attention to is noticing that inner critic that might get involved as you're sitting at your desk and rubbing your hands together, or pushing yourself away from the computer for a moment and just breathing deeply. And just observe that inner critic who goes, oh my gosh, what are people thinking about me? What do I look like? What do I sound like just sitting here with my eyes closed? And if that's true for you, I want you just to imagine just hugging that little inner critic. All it's trying to do is to keep you safe. It's not speaking truth. You can just hug it and say, thanks. Thanks for trying to keep me safe. And then get back to your breathing. And you close the practice with just a couple of breaths again, breathing in, breathing out, being right here, right now. We'll slowly bring our eyes open or back together. Thank you for being here, everyone. Thanks for joining. I love this time with you. It's one of my favorite of the whole week. You're awesome. Be well. Take care and happy spring.